Good morning. Today we are starting Unit 7, which is on volume. Volume, just so you're aware, is, how much space, is inside a 3D object. So you've talked about displacement in maybe chemistry class or biology class. That's a measurement of volume. And before we get into our three-dimensional shapes, though, we are going to look at our two-dimensional shapes and just talk about area um, before we proceed into volume. So today we're going to find the area of triangles, rectangles, parallelograms, trapezoids, and circles. You are going to be given a formula sheet, okay? It is going to be on Empower. The good news is we're not going to have to worry about any crazy modes, and the buttons on the calculator should hopefully be a lot easier to follow. But I strongly encourage you to make sure you are writing things down, you are pausing the video, put the numbers in the calculator yourself, make sure you're getting the same answers. So first things first, let's talk about how to find area of rectangles and parallelograms. The formula is very simple. It's base times height. Area of a parallelogram or area of a rectangle is b times h. Base for b, h for height. However, there is one really, really important note that you need to make. The base and the height form a right angle. This is so important because if you miscalculate where the height is in our shapes this unit, you are going to have more difficulty than you want. And remember, you can spot the right angle in our pictures by looking for that little box. So base is B, H is height. So when we look at this first number here, if we are looking to find the area of this shape, we should first recognize that it is a rectangle. It's four sides. It's got right angles in all the corners. Um, and, you know, this 7 miles here, you don't really have to worry about the miles here, but that's your base. The 2 is your height. And if my formula for area is base times height for this shape, then all I have to enter is 7 times 2. And that gets me 14 miles squared. The unit uh, the unit is miles, and for area they are always squared units. Okay, but once again, we knew that the base was 7 and the height was 2 because they form a right angle. In number 4 here, we have what's known as a parallelogram. And its formula is also base times height. But make sure you can identify the base and the height because you only need two numbers, yet when we look in this picture, we have three, which means one of them is not going to be used. So find the right angle, and the line segments that form that right angle are going to be our base and our height. So this 6.4 right here on this slant, that is not a height. That is not helping to form a right angle. I'm going to just cross it out. Right? So 6 kilometers is my base, 5.6 kilometers is my height, and very simple, I just multiply them together. 6 times 5.6, 6 times 5.6, 33.6. And my unit is kilometers squared. Units are always squared for area. And that's rectangles and parallelograms. We've got three more families of shapes to go through for this video. Triangles. A triangle formula is base times height divided by 2. The rules for base and height are the same. Base and height must form a right angle. But we're introducing this new characteristic of divided by 2 to the formula. And, if you think about it, base times height, this is not something you need to know for your notes or problems, but, base times height was the area of the shapes we just talked about, a rectangle. If we divide this shape in half, in other words, we cut it in two, look, we've created a triangle. So that's why the area of a triangle formula is base times height divided by 2. But let's do some problems. So area equals base times height divided by 2 for this shape. This shape is a triangle, but I've got 1, 2, 3, 4 numbers in my problem. I don't need 4 numbers, which means some of those are extra. Find the right angle. That segment is 9, and the up and down dotted line is my height. So that means that those slants are just extra in this case. So I'm getting rid of those. Base, height. So my area, just plug and chug your numbers here. 9 times 9.4 divided by 2. Pause the video, go enter it into your calculator, and let's see what value you get. 9 times 9.4 divided by 2. Let me make sure I copied it right. 9 times 9.4 divided by 2. I did. 42.3. And my units, sorry, 42.3 are kilometers. That's what the km is. It's just a unit. It's not actually a measurement or a number or anything. And these are squared. In our second triangle over here, here's my right angle. So the 5 and the 4.6 go together. And this slanted side, not important. Just trying to trick us. So area of a triangle is base times height divided by 2. You'll notice that each problem that I'm doing, I'm always writing my formula down. And that's because I want to limit the amount of use that I have to look at my reference sheet. If I'm writing the formula every time and I am identifying my shapes, then just by the act of writing it down, I'm going to put it into my memory. So my base was 5. My height was 4.6. The right angle helped me to get that. Divide by 2 because it's a triangle. 5 times 4.6 divided by 2. And I get 11.5 units squared. And my units this time are miles squared. And that's triangle. Pretty simple. Trapezoid. This one can be a little bit trickier. So when you look at the formula here for a trapezoid, you've got this little b with a 1 and b with a 2 times h, which stands for height again, divided by 2. And really what this b1 here and b2 is because in my picture, I have two bases. I have a top base called b1, and I have a bottom base called b2. And you really just have to make sure that you put the parentheses into the calculator, because if you don't use the parentheses, you don't follow PEMDAS, the order of operations, and then you'll get the problem wrong. So the formula sheet's got the parentheses. Make sure you put the parentheses in the calculator. If you're not a fan of parentheses, read this statement, and those are the steps how you do it in 2 steps. Otherwise, if you use the parentheses, you can just do it all at once. So my top base is 4.3. My bottom base is 11.7. And the height is where the right angle is between the top and the bottom. So my height is 6.2. So you can even make a little list if it helps. This might help with volume problems when we get to it, this strategy. Put B1, put the number down. Put B2, write down what the number is. Then put H was 6.2. That's all I needed to find. And then I really just take these values right here and I just put them into the equation for where they go. So area equals parenthesis B1 plus B2 times height divided by 2. So B1 is 4.3, B2 is 11.7 times my height, which is 6.2, and then last I can just divide by 2, which is part of the formula. 4.3 plus 11.7 in parentheses times 6.2, all divided by 2. Pause the video, and why don't you enter that into your calculator and see what it gives you? Let's see, parenthesis 4.3 plus 11.7. Sorry for all the switching back and forth, but I made the calculator a little bigger in this unit, and that's what it's going to take. Notice I closed the parenthesis. You have to close it. Times my height, which is 6.2, divided by 2, which is 49.6. And that's kilometers squared because km is a kilometer. And that's a unit of metric measurement. All right, number 6. We've got our top base of 2.2. We've got our bottom. Oops. So B1 is 2.2. Honestly, if you flip-flop B1 and B2, it's not going to matter. And my height, what's my height here? Is my height 6.5? Is it 6? Or is it 7.1? Well, my height was indeed 6 because here's my right angle. And that's the distance between the top and the bottom of the trapezoid. So my height is 6. So parenthesis 2.2 plus 8.4, close the parentheses, times the height of 6. Do not forget to divide by 2. You're really going to have to pay attention to details in this unit, especially if you struggled with that in our last unit. Please, please, please double check with your teacher. So parenthesis 2.2 plus 8.4, close the parenthesis, times 6, and don't forget to divide by 2. 31.8. And that's miles squared. All area problems are squared units. And that's our trapezoids. We have one more shape family left to talk about, and that is our circles. So circle, we have two formulas here, but really the words for the formula are pi times radius squared. There's really only one formula to find area of a circle. Okay, pi is this symbol right here. To get to pi on the calculator, you must hit second, which is the blue button, And then there's this little tilde arrow that my cursor is pointing to right now that is now highlighted in red on the screen. Pause the video, go find how to do pi on your calculator. You hit second and then that little tilde. You're gonna need to. We're not using 3.14. We're using the actual pi symbol. So you hit second and that little caret arrow to get that on the calculator. So area of a circle is pi times the radius squared. Um, so the radius you can see here in this picture is half the distance from the center to the outside of the circle. And the d, so r stands for radius, if you didn't know, and the d is short for diameter. Two very important vocabulary words that you're going to hear a lot of. The diameter is the whole distance from one edge of the circle through the center to the opposite end of the circle. It's got to go through the center though for it to truly be a diameter. And the radius is just half of the diameter's distance. So a lot of times when you're given a circle and you're asked to find the area, you want to ask yourself, well, do I know the diameter or do I know the radius? Well, from the center to the outside, that's the radius. So the radius is 4. And my formula for area of a circle is pi r squared. And we're just going to take that value of 4 and we're going to put it in for r and square it on the calculator. This is how you would write your work down to, if you're entering that into Google Slides, you can just use the word pi for pi. You don't have to go and find the symbol, just write pi. And let's calculate this. So to get to pi, second and the caret key, parenthesis, 4, because that's my radius, close my parentheses, and then my exponent key is right here you can use, or here's the squared button in red. Both ways work. And you're going to get 50.265. Let's round to the one decimal place. So look one number to the right. That is higher than 5, so this is going to be 50.3 units squared. And my units are yards. True fact, my sister-in-law did not know how many feet are in a yard. Do you know how many feet are in a yard? I know my football fans do. There are 3 feet in a yard. All right, number 8, last question for the day. They told us that this distance is 14. Well, that is not the radius. That is the diameter. So if the diameter is 14, the radius will be half of that. So half of 14 is 7. And that's what we're going to use in my pi r squared formula. I'm going to use 7. So pi times 7 squared. Second caret key to get pi times 7 and then squared. Oops, I got too many parentheses. It's going to yell at me. If you ever need to delete just one number, this little key right here is how you delete just one number. 153.938. 9 is my 10th spot. Look over, and that's 153.9. 153.9, and this is centimeters squared. And centimeters are a very small unit, so perhaps that's why this unit seems so big. By the way, my sister-in-law, she's 24, I think, so don't feel bad. You still got time to catch up to her. Anyways, have a great day. Please go do your practice problems. Super important. Make sure you're identifying the shapes each time. If you cannot recognize the shapes that you are dealing with and then match it on the formula sheet, you will have trouble. So word of advice, take it. Thanks for watching. Go do your practice. Bye.